Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
Welcome back to the Friendo Club. It's time for another retro Dave Meltzer Wrestling Observer Star Ratings Challenge review, whatever we're going to call it, Larson. You're in the hot seat today, and today you are going to guess the Meltzer rating.
I have no idea what's coming. I have none. Zero. Steve's giving me zero hints. No
I'm giving
clues.
you no hints whatsoever, Larson. This might have been the most miserable live wrestling experience of my life.
WrestleMania 33.
We're going back to Orlando, baby. That's right. 2017. We were there.
There's a lot of matches on that card. That's like a 7-hour day.
You know what, man? The first thing that I went through and I curated Meltzer's write-up
Thank
here
you.
to number one. Eliminate pretty much all the descriptions on these matches. So you get nothing but pure editorializing. Descriptions only inform the editorializing.
Of course.
But also, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to kind of, I don't know, validate my own personal thoughts about my experience at WrestleMania. Because I always kind of felt that you were thinking I was a little bit, I don't know.
Soft?
Yeah. I was going to say SAWFT. But man, even Meltzer at the beginning of this write-up, Larson, talks about this, and he does a little bit of his own predicting, and he's pretty good at it. He says this: perhaps the most overriding story to the wrestling fans, besides Undertaker and the Hardys, was the length of the show. This is nuts. From a television standpoint, it went nearly 7 hours and 15 minutes. And about 6 hours and 45 minutes from the start of the opener to the signing off after Undertaker retired. That makes it, he says, likely one of the longest live televised major wrestling events in modern history. While the show had more good than bad, in the end, it felt like an endurance contest and a struggle. So I feel kind of validated at being so fucking miserable.
It wasn't a fun experience. I would never argue with. I'd probably just ribbing you if I was giving you any static.
Oh, I know. You were actually very sensitive to the fact that I was being miserable. I was trying my damnedest not to be a turd, but I know when I'm not comfortable, I will let people know that I'm not.
You know, the thing I found most disappointing, I mean, it was a long show and the weather wasn't great. Like, it sprinkled a little bit. It was really humid. It's Florida, of course.
Super humid in Florida.
The seats weren't good. Like, if we had good seats where we could see better and didn't have lights flashing in our faces.
Honestly, if we were in the same situation as 2 years prior in San Jose
31.
for 31, I probably would have been fine because you can sort of relax or whatever.
Yeah. No, you're scrunched in there real tight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
He says much of the second half of the show dragged to the crowd with the exception of Goldberg-Lesnar, and that's because they were basically trading finishing moves from the opening second and went so short. This is interesting as well before we dive into it. The reality is that WrestleMania really does at some point, probably soon, need to become a 2-day affair.
Wow. Prescient.
It gets even wilder. If you look 2 or 3 years down the line, the company will have far more talent than it does now. There are choices. Marathon shows that get mixed reviews and cause casual fans to tap out, so you only serve the hardcore audience, or rush matches, which get the talent hardcore fans mad, or you cut down on the number of matches and bench talented performers, or just do larger battle royals, which marginalize more of the talent, make them come across as not special. Let's face it, SmackDown Tag Champs and Top Challengers were the perfect example of guys whose star power took a hit by being nobodies in the Battle Royal, and there are more guys at that level on the way to the main roster by 2020, which, of course, is the year that they went 2 days.
2-day WrestleMania, yeah.
I mean, whether or not that would have been the case had it not been for pandemic forcing their hand and them continuing on, we don't know.
We don't know.
But
we don't know.
Interesting nonetheless. Let's go ahead and dive into this. You've got 13 opportunities because I did include the pre-show.
Well, we were there for the whole thing. We got there in time to watch everything.
Hey, you know what? If the show WrestleMania 33 was an endurance, then this is going to be your endurance test.
So shall this retro Meltzer reaction guessing star ratings video
be. Yeah. All right, first up in the pre-show, Neville versus Austin Aries for the Cruiserweight title. This match went 15 minutes and 37 seconds. This is what Meltzer had to say. This match was really good.
It was really
going out at 5:30 p.m. as the crowd was filling in, and just the mentality of it being on the pre-show doomed it. It started slow, being built around Aries going for the last chancery and Neville for the Rings of Saturn. They worked slower than usual, which you have to with the crowd filing in, and in many ways, this felt like the junior heavyweight prelim in the Tokyo Dome that also often doesn't get much of a reaction. Aries did a great Super Frankensteiner and a 450 for a near fall. He went for the last chancery, but Neville raked his bad left eye, then kicked the ropes into his bad left eye, and he hit the red arrow for the pin. What did Meltzer give this match?
This was a good match.
It was good.
Say he went 3.5 stars.
So close. 3 3/4. 3 3/4. Very close.
Almost
All
thought
right.
about going that high. All right.
There we go. Number 2. Andre the Giant Battle Royal.
Yeah.
14 minutes and 8 seconds. Of course, Mojo Rawley got the win here. The first batch of this is simply elimination, so I went ahead to the finish.
Thank you.
Jinder Mahal started arguing with Rob Gronkowski in the front row. Mahal grabbed a drink and threw it in Gronk's face. Gronkowski went to hop the guardrail. So this was funny. A female security guard immediately went to stop Gronk until another security guard had to tell her that he was part of the show. In one of those annoying bits of commentary that only WWE could do, as Gronk was in the ring, the announcers pushed this as the biggest event Gronk has ever been a part of. He's played in several Super Bowls. He tackled Mahal. Rawley then threw out Killian Dane, nailed Mahal with a running forearm to knock him over the top, and he and Gronk celebrated the win. What did Meltzer give this?
This can't be high. I doubt it's over 2 stars. I feel like Dave, generally speaking, isn't a fan of these really quick battle royals.
Mm-hmm.
I remember this one being particularly good.
Mm-hmm.
Say you went 1.5.
Close again. 2 stars. He did actually give it 2. It was a match that happened. He gave it 2.
All right.
Another match that happened here. Third match, last one of the pre-show. Mox was in the pre-show, Larson.
Yeah, defending the Intercontinental title.
Yeah, to defend the Intercontinental Championship.
Against Baron Corbin.
Against Baron Corbin. This match lasted 10 minutes, 45 seconds.
It is the shortest match on the pre-show.
It is. By a bit. Says
I remember at this point, the humidity was really kicking in because there was like a storm moving in, and it was starting to sprinkle a little bit.
Yeah, boy.
As the sun was setting.
The seats were so uncomfortable, too.
They were. They got the smallest folding chairs, and they zip tied them together.
Yeah, they were linked together, yeah. God. Dean Ambrose pinned Baron Corbin in 10:45. This match was switched from the main show to the pre-show with no notice, reversed with the SmackDown's women's match. The finish saw Ambrose get out of the end of days and hit the dirty deeds. It seemed to end out of nowhere. The finish was flat because people expected Corbin to kick out. All the rest was description.
All right. So this is probably more towards match happened as opposed to was good.
Good.
Let's say 2 3/4.
2 stars.
Wow. Literally match happened.
I gave you a little hint. I said another match that just happened.
Oh.
All right.
I'm sitting here reminiscing, honestly.
Oh, I know. You know what? Hey, that week was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. It was exhausting, but it was a lot of fun.
It's just actual WrestleMania kind of sucked. All right, man. Let's kick off the main show with AJ Styles versus Shane McMahon. In my estimation, probably AJ Styles' best match at a WrestleMania that I can think of. This year might beat that, but anyways, it was AJ versus Shane McMahon in 20 minutes and 28 seconds.
Yeah, it was a good match.
Short editor, not a lot of editorializing here. He says this: Styles was cut under the right eye by an errant Shane punch right away. Shane, after being punched, said, "You want to throw hands?" and then punched him all over the place. Fans were chanting for Styles. Shane's selling looked so bad. Shane missed a shooting star press, and Styles finally hit the phenomenal forearm for the pin. The crowd didn't boo either guy and were way more into this than anything on the show, except Goldberg, Lesnar, and the ladder match.
It was a good match.
It was a good match.
It was very good. I remember the next day we watched some of this.
Yeah.
Again, the show, including this match. He really likes AJ. I'm going to say he gave it 4 stars.
You're on the board. He gave it 4 stars.
Yeah.
Very good. Thought this was Tokyo Dome for a second. All right, moving on. Hey, you're perfect on the main show, dude. So let's keep that momentum going.
Let's keep it rolling.
With the next one, fallout from the Festival of Friendship. Kevin Owens pinned Chris Jericho in 16 minutes and 47 seconds to win the United States Championship. The crowd was quiet early on as they had to follow such a big spot match. The story is that they were close friends, so they knew what the other was doing ahead of time. The crowd got into it after Jericho hit a lion salt for a near fall and chanted, "Both these guys." Owens ended up hitting a powerbomb on the apron and threw Jericho in the ring for the pie-on. I think he meant pin, but it's spelled pie-on. That's all you get.
Well, that's all I get.
All you get.
So this match wasn't as good as the one that preceded it, having been there live, experiencing it. Something seemed kind of missing. I think their match at Payback, the following pay-per-view, was better.
Sounds right.
3 1/4.
3.5.
It's always
Very
a quarter
close.
star off.
Very close. Very close. All right. Let's try to get this momentum back.
Yeah.
Next match, Bayley won a fatal 4-way to keep the Raw Women's title in an elimination match over Charlotte, Sasha Banks, and Nia Jax in 12 minutes and 5 seconds.
Okay.
Because it was an elimination match and was going 3 falls, it needed more time. Jax was a monster early, destroying everyone. There was a lighting problem in the arena as tons of fans had these light right in their eyes. And they couldn't see anything at all, so there was a loud "turn out the lights, we can't see" chant that hurt the match. Charlotte did a twisting moonsault on both. That was probably the move of the show. Banks went for the O'Connor roll when Charlotte kicked her into the corner, where Banks hit the exposed turnbuckle that actually wasn't exposed. Didn't look exposed to anybody in the stadium. It was partially exposed. That was all him. And got the pin in 8 minutes and 8 seconds. Fans didn't like it or expect it because Charlotte didn't actually get the turnbuckle exposed before she was stopped. This left Charlotte versus Bayley. Charlotte missed a moonsault. Bayley got the pin with the Randy Savage elbow. Nobody expected that would be the finish. That's all you get.
Sounds like he was kind of underwhelmed. What did he give the last one? 3.5?
3.5.
3.5?
3.5. You said 3 3/4. He gave it 3.5.
All right. I'm going to say he claimed it was short.
Mm-hmm.
The exposed turnbuckle bit was kind of botched.
He seemed
and
to
the finish
focus
was
on
out of
that.
nowhere. He didn't seem to enjoy it. So I'm going to say he gave it 2 3/4.
That's a good guess, but he gave it 3 1/4.
All right.
He complained a lot, and
Yeah.
he gave it like a good star rating.
Pretty good rating, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Maybe it's
Next
the
up.
situation where Dave was not having a good time. He was uncomfortable. It was humid. It's warm.
Yeah, he was probably there, wasn't he?
I think so. Sprinkling a little
Probably.
bit.
Yeah, it could be.
No
Maybe he
12-inch
was
hot dogs
down
as
on the
advertised.
floor. Maybe they advertised 12-inch hot dogs, and they were in fact 11 1/4.
Could be. It could be. It's an older venue, so.
It is. All right, man. We got tag team action now. Matt and Jeff Hardy, with their big return, won the tag titles, the Raw tag titles, in a 4-way ladder match over Enzo Amore and Big Cass.
How you doing?
How you doing? Sheamus and Cesaro and champions Luke Gallows and Machine Gun Carl Anderson in 11 minutes. The 3 advertised teams were in the ring. Then the New Day came out, and as soon as they did, people started chanting "delete" and "obsolete," thinking the Hardys were coming out. The New Day teased they were entering and then introduced the Hardys, who got the biggest reaction on the show. Jeff did all the stuff like poetry in motion and whisper in the ring wind that he'd stopped doing a lot of. Fans were chanting, "This is awesome," right away. They did all kinds of big moves using the ladder on each other. Enzo did the worst looking eat defeat in wrestling history. There was a Brother Nero chant. Sheamus and Gallows were on the top of the ladder, and Enzo tipped it over. Sheamus, in taking the bump, landed on a ladder on his head and could have hurt himself. The finish saw Jeff climb to the top of a 12-foot ladder, with the ref holding the ladder in place, and was supposed to nail Sheamus and Cesaro, who were on separate ladders, bridged from the barricade to the apron. He really only hit Cesaro with the swanton, who went through the ladder. Matt pulled down the belts to win. This wasn't as good as most WrestleMania ladder matches, but it didn't matter, as the crowd was going to love it once the Hardys came out. What star
That
rating?
is a fair assessment. It was short. Less than 12 minutes. It was fun, but yeah, it got by almost exclusively on the Hardys' return. So it's going to be under 4.
Good heat.
Good heat. It's going to be somewhere between 3 and 4. I'm going to say 3 3/4.
Bang! You got it. You got it. All right. Let's keep this momentum going, man. Let's do a streak now.
Let's do it.
Next up, John Cena and Nikki Bella beat The Miz and Maryse in 9 minutes and 37 seconds. There wasn't a lot to this. Jerry Lawler was brought out on commentary. The fans were mostly cheering Miz and Maryse, but that's not unexpected. Nikki and wait, really?
No, like Miz and Maryse really got themselves over in that feud because of those vignettes they did.
Especially with us, man. Yeah, they're great. Nikki and Maryse did little. Nikki hit a tope on Miz. The finish saw Nikki lay out Maryse with a forearm, and then Cena and Nikki did a double You Can't See Me, a double 5-knuckle shuffle, and Nikki used the TKO on Maryse, and Cena used the attitude adjustment for the pin. He wrote up what happened afterwards with everything, but like there was no editorializing and no snark there, so I didn't bother including any of that.
I'm shocked there's no snark there.
Same, to be honest.
Really shocked. Yeah, there's not a lot there in terms of editorializing.
I mean, the first thing he says was there wasn't a lot to this. So there you go.
So, I mean, the baseline is 2 then. I don't think he's going to go too much higher than that. If he goes higher than that, I'm going to say 2 1/4.
Very good. You got the streak going now, man. You got this momentum heading into the last 4 matches.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, boy. This is the longest write-up of the next batch. It is Seth Rollins versus Triple H in an unsanctioned match. This match was 25 minutes and 23 seconds. It was really long.
It was. I think this is during this match that you turned to me and said, "I'm so miserable right now."
Sounds right. Sounds right. Triple H and Stephanie got the big entrance riding a motorcycle, and she dressed up like a biker chick. Rollins was said to have had pneumonia and a 103-degree temperature the day of the show.
Wow.
Although he did not work like a guy impaired, and at 103 degrees, you're really impaired. Triple H used a dragon screw and started working on Rollins' left knee. They were brawling outside the guardrail. Michael Cole said, maybe he watched this on TV. Michael Cole said they were brawling in the universe. Doesn't that sound like they're brawling somewhere near Alpha Centauri or something?
There's the snark.
Actually, hold on, he's not done.
Oh.
Actually, at times, this show felt like it was lasting 4.4 light years. Ba-dum-bum.
Wow.
Light years is a measure of distance, not time.
Yes.
Triple H hit a spine buster and put Rollins' knee in a chair and Pillmanized the leg. Really? That should be saved for either a finish or an injury angle, not some mid-match spot that the babyface does a big comeback from. It wasn't until he grabbed the sledgehammer 19 minutes into the match that the crowd got into it. Triple H went for a sledgehammer spot, but after all the knee issues and 19 minutes of destruction, Rollins sprung up and hit an enziguri. Rollins got the sledgehammer and was about to use it, but Stephanie grabbed it and out-muscled him to pull it away. That was brutal. Stephanie then grabbed Rollins and held him. Triple H went to punch him, but Rollins moved. Triple H held up before hitting Stephanie. Rollins super kicked Triple H, who bumped into Stephanie, who fell off the apron through a table that Rollins had set up what seemed like several days earlier. Rollins then hit the pedigree for the pin. In some ways, this was a really great match. But with the backstory and the knee injury and all the flying offense by Rollins and all the extreme knee damage and him coming back with more flying top rope offense and it not being what the crowd was buying, well, this wasn't the place and time. Whatever that means.
It was a good match. I guess it's the history Seth Rollins has saying, "Oh, hey, look, I'm injured," and then not selling it.
That could be. That could be.
But I remember being there and this match being pretty fun, even though it wasn't long.
It's a good, I think also like what he's, I think saying is like, bro, you're so deep into this thing, into this card, and now you're going to pull out a 25-minute match.
Exactly. We need a 15 to 17-minute match there, not 25.
This probably should have headlined like a B-level pay-per-view.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably his point.
It was good. I don't think he's going to go 4 stars because he had some critiques, some criticisms. Say he went 3 3/4.
Close. 3.5.
I almost went 3.5.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of surprising. I feel like he really liked that match, but he was finding kind of superficial things to not like about it.
Maybe there's this point during the show where he turned to Brian Alvarez and he said, I'm miserable right now.
All right, next up. Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt, baby.
Oh, gosh.
Randy Orton beat Bray Wyatt to win the WWE title in 10 minutes, 24 seconds. It was noted that both these men's fathers were part of the first WrestleMania. Bob Orton Jr. was in the heel corner of the main event as opposed to wrestling on that show. What's interesting is that I don't think they've ever acknowledged on television that Bray Wyatt was the son of Mike Rotunda. The match went a few minutes, and the ring canvas was a graphic on it that it looked like it was filled with maggots. The crowd liked the special effect at first.
No.
They both got out of each other's big move. Then we had Worm's graphic. That wasn't so well received. Wyatt explained these graphics by saying he was God. So I guess he was the guy who no-showed being Shawn Michaels' tag team partner all those years ago. Ba-dum-bum. The crowd was quiet. Wyatt hit Sister Abigail in the ring and Orton kicked out. I know the old saying about you don't kick out of people's finishes unless you're in the WrestleMania main event or a pay-per-view main event, but by this point, and there was plenty left to come, the whole night was kicking out of finishers match after match to where it didn't even mean anything by this point. Then we had the Bugs graphic in the ring. Orton then hit the RKO out of nowhere for the pin. For all the build this had, it was bad.
It was bad.
What did Dave Meltzer give this?
All right, he said it was bad. That's below 2 stars. I don't think he's going to go in the minus territory here. But that's a pretty wide range there between 0 and 2 stars. Let's say 1 star.
Close. 1.5. 1.5 on it. Yeah. All right, next up. Finisher match. Brock Lesnar versus Bill Goldberg. For the Universal title, match went 4 minutes and 45 seconds. The fans booed Goldberg. Not hard, but they did. It was nothing but one big move after another. Lesnar went for an F5, but Goldberg escaped and hit another spear. Then he hit the jackhammer and Lesnar kicked out. The place went nuts for that. Goldberg went for another spear and Lesnar leapfrogged him and Goldberg ran into turnbuckles. That was something, seeing a guy at almost 40 years old and about 310 pounds leapfrog like that. Lesnar then came back with 7 German suplexes and an F5 for the pin. That's all you get. What star rating did Meltzer give this match?
I mean, it was a fun sprint with a bunch of finishers.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of in-ring storytelling and psychology, there wasn't a lot. It was basically spam the finish button.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not going to go terribly high. But obviously, this isn't match happen territory, so it's going to be well above 2 stars. I'm going to say 3.25.
So close. 3.5. Stars. He went 3.5 stars. Yep. All right, man. There's light at the end of the tunnel here. Penultimate match for the SmackDown Women's title. Naomi won a 6-way against Alexa Bliss, Carmella, Natalya, Becky Lynch, and Mickie James in 5 minutes and 32 seconds. They were cut back on time, so had to rush. Naomi got the best reaction since they were in Orlando. It was just trading big moves, and they had no chance this late in the show following that match, and people just wanting to see the main event. James Ellsworth ran and did a Luthez press to the back of Becky Lynch, giving her more momentum to pin Carmella, so Bliss saved. Since it was one fall, that kind of made no sense for James to try and help Lynch get a pin. Naomi then did a plancha on everyone and made Bliss submit to a Lucha Libre stretch submission. Scraped together all the editorializing I could, but it's a 5-minute match. What are you going to do?
For a 5-minute match.
Mm-hmm.
So it was rushed, but didn't necessarily say anything negative about the match itself. So probably above 2 stars. Say 2.25.
1.5 stars.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Feel like, kind of like you can kind of maybe read between the lines that like he didn't really think that match happened because they had so much time cut off the match.
That could be.
All right, man. Here we are. After this is the true test here of your endurance. If you can get through this next match, then you win the endurance race.
I'm already tired, honestly.
Yeah, man. Me too. Just reading this stuff. All right, here we go. This actually has the longest write-up now that I'm looking at. This is on par with the Triple H one. Roman Reigns pinned The Undertaker in 22 minutes and 58 seconds.
That match felt so much longer than that.
It really did. Yeah. Undertaker threw Reigns over the top rope and said, "This is my yard," and threw him over the top again. Fans chanted for him. It was clear this wasn't the same Undertaker. He did enough to where the match was fine, really better than the previous few years. Undertaker used a tombstone pile driver and Reigns kicked out. The fans booed that heavily and started chanting bullshit because they thought Reigns shouldn't have kicked out of that move. The idea next was for Undertaker to try and tombstone, and Reigns reversed it into a tombstone of his own. That didn't work out, as they couldn't pull it off and went down. That wasn't really a sentence. Reigns tried it a second time, but they started on the ground, so he couldn't get him up again. Reigns then went back to the Superman punch and spear, but Undertaker went for Hell's Gate, the old gogoplata from MMA that nobody ever uses. Undertaker actually botched that, and it came across more like an armbar, and Reigns made the ropes. Reigns grabbed the chair and hit Undertaker 4 times hard. The crowd was just exhausted and didn't react. Reigns hit another spear, and Undertaker kicked out. Then another spear, and Undertaker kicked out again. The crowd went nuts when he kicked out of the last spear because that one they did believe was it. The match was as good as could be expected. Reigns left the ring. Suddenly, Undertaker was in the ring with his trench coat and hat on. He took off his gloves, put them on the ground. He took off his trench coat, took time folding it, put it on the ground. Then he put his hat on the ground on top of it. After everyone had left the arena and an hour after the show was over, they still had his stuff in the middle of the ring. Fans were chanting, "Thank you, Taker." The show could have been 10 hours long, and truthfully, it felt like it was. But Undertaker's retirement was still going to be a major moment in wrestling history. It's an exceedingly narrow view of the entire world of wrestling to call him the greatest star of all time, a label thrown around a lot this past week, but he was one of the most enduring superstars of 25 and a half years, being a pretty consistent main eventer in the U.S. history. It's fair to say The Undertaker was It's fair to say The Undertaker was the single most enduring main event gimmick in history, arguably the best worker of his size and body type ever, and right at the top of the list of the most widely respected performers of his generation. What rating did Dave Meltzer give this match?
This match wasn't good, but I feel like based on that write-up, he's probably going to give it something higher than I thought he would have going into it.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
It's as good as it could be expected. Yeah. You know, there was a lot of botched spots in that match.
Yeah, it was a messy-ass match.
It really was. So I feel like it's going to be above 3 stars, but not. I'm going to say 3 1/4.
So close, it was 3 stars. 3 stars. That's The Godfather. I don't know what Undertaker's is. Anyways. Yeah. So I don't know. What did you get?
I got 3 right, but I probably got like 5. That was off.
You came really close a couple times. Yeah, really close.
It's the story with me and these guess the Meltzer ratings.
This one especially, it's an endurance test.
It really is, and I'm exhausted. I'm still getting over.
Really, sick. If you make it through, you win.
I'm a winner.
That's going to do it for this edition, this marathon of a Meltzer Star Rating retro review. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. Till next time, we got to go back to our Airbnb and do the review now, man. I remember I had a headache during that review.
You were so miserable.
That sucked.
And I'm like, I'll get this one up tonight, Steve.
And you know what's even worse? That was the weekend. I think it was the next day that the YouTube adpocalypse happened.
It was because we were watching this on TV. And we're like, why is the revenue not good?
Our revenue update, I was like, oh man, let me see this, whatever it usually would be, $400, $500. And it was like 120 or something like that. I'm like, what's going on here? Maybe it didn't update all the way.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyways, that's going to do it. We'll see you guys around.
Goodbye.